Okay, here we go. White Squirrel Channel, talk number, whatever this is, maybe 4. We're going to get to the 37 fat loss hacks that I wish I'd known at 25, that I know at 30 by Arnoir, but I'm going to get to that at the end today. Of course, like always, we will take off the shirt. I'll tell you about my sugar and my weight. And hey, made a little progress this time. Okay, but today, our main conversation is about ADHD and how ADHD and autism have some similarities. And I was driving the other day, my wife and I were together, and I got to thinking, if somebody were just dumb, stupid, really mentally challenged, they may not know it. Yeah, I guess we all do this. We're like, does everybody in the world think differently than us or than me? And we wonder, how do they not get it? What happened? Well, maybe they just don't get it. Maybe they don't get it because they don't get it. And they don't know that what they don't get is something to not get. Well, so have you ever wondered, have you ever thought, is this not ADHD? Is it maybe autism? Have you ever thought that? It's just a little bit been a question in my mind. I've never had anybody say, "Hey, Josh, do you think you're autistic?" I've never really questioned it. But sometimes I want to say, maybe we're all a little autistic. Maybe we're all not all autistic, but maybe a little autistic. Maybe we're all somewhere on the spectrum. You say, Josh, that's being unprofessional. You shouldn't say that. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody. That's not at all my goal. Never my goal. But I just wanted to talk about some similarities between ADHD and autism, and just see if maybe it's something that hits me every once in a while, and I wonder if it might hit you. I want to do 3 things today. I'm going to tell you that being interested is typically not the problem with people with ADHD. Number 2, I want to talk to you about what the problem actually is. And third, I want to talk to you about some ways that I've learned to overcome that challenge. Okay, so what is the problem? The problem is in social settings sometimes, like, for example, mix and mingles or things where you're just kind of meant to mingle with people. If you were to put me in charge and say, Josh, I want you to greet everybody at the door. I want you to tell them the purpose of the event tonight. I want you to point them towards the bar and towards the snacks and the cocktails or whatever. If you gave me a job like that, I'd be a star. I'd be fine. I can do that. I have a purpose. I have something that's activating and completing and filling my mind. And as a result, I don't really, a squirrel, something that gets my attention. It gets my attention. I do it, but I know I've got a task and I get right back to my task. And I'm welcoming everybody, greeting everybody, and doing my thing. Now, if I am invited to this event, I'm not asked to plan, I'm not asked to organize, I'm not asked to do anything, and I'm just there to mix and mingle, it's really, really hard for me. I struggle to know how to start a conversation. I struggle sometimes with the conversation once it starts. The conversations might be about guns, or somebody's talking about cars, or somebody's talking about the weather. Those are all things that unless we get kind of down into the weeds, they just have a passing interest for me. And so the difference between ADHD and autism is, let me give you Carolina basketball for an example. If I get into a conversation with a group of people and somebody says, I pull for the Tar Heels, I immediately think, okay, let's talk about the Tar Heels. And this is June of 2025. And so I'm thinking about the starting lineup that's going to be rolled out next year and how they've got 9 new players, and probably Cayenne Evans is going to start, and Hubert's going to have to start Seth Trimble at the beginning of the season to kind of see if he should belong in the starting lineup. Probably Luka the new guy that came from overseas is probably going to be in the starting lineup at the 3. Although he's more of a 2, he's probably going to be in the 3. The 4 will probably be at the very beginning of the season, Jaron Stevenson, because that's what Hubert does, is he kind of starts the upperclassmen. Even though he's a transfer and it's his first year here, he might start Jaron Stevenson before Caleb Wilson, even though Caleb Wilson's probably the highest paid player on the team. And, Carolina's probably spending about $14 million on their roster this year, and Henry Vasar is going to be the center. And you're like, Josh, you just went on this long rant about Carolina basketball, and why are you telling me about it? I don't care. I came to talk about autism and ADHD. Okay, for me, I knew that you probably lost interest if you're, from Oklahoma, or you're, from Kansas or somewhere way out that doesn't know what a basketball is. No, I'm kidding, Kansas fans. Anyway, but if you're from somewhere else and you're not deeply interested in Carolina basketball, I know that I lost you 10 seconds into that little rant about Carolina basketball. The difference between ADHD and autism is those of us with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, we know and can see social cues. Of course, I'm on YouTube and I'm just recording here. Nobody's watching this. So I couldn't see when you zoned out, but I know you did. Okay, a person with autism may not connect, may not hear that, may not realize that people zoned out, and they would just go on talking about James Brown and Zayden High and Powell, and you get what I'm saying, Young. All of those other players that we already lost you at Luka. You're already going, wow, you've gone too far. Now you're going further, and I think that's kind of the difference between ADHD and autism. That's one example. The autistic person misses the social clues. My point with this is that for ADHD people, being interested is not the problem. We're interested. The problem is that our interest kind of jerks the wheel and we swerve to a place we maybe shouldn't. For example, somebody's talking about guns and they're talking about how a gun works and how the bullet goes through the barrel and how, and they're talking about the new gun they got, or they're talking about all these different things about guns. Sometimes my interest swerves that conversation about guns into a conversation about maybe pacifism. Or that conversation about guns, I swerve into a bigger theological debate. Maybe they're talking about cars and they're talking about their favorite car and what kind of car they drive and what the wheels are. And that conversation that should just stay about cars, my brain kind of swerves it to saying, my thing about cars is that I'm very, very careful to never have a car payment. I don't ever want to pay car interest. Cars go down in value when you drive them off the lot. And so my brain takes this conversation that just should be a casual chat, and I go deeper into a money conversation, or maybe that somebody's talking about the weather, and it might be so drastic as they're talking about the weather and I start talking about the heat and how hot crazy eternalists believe that hell's gonna be, and how I don't believe in hell. So my problem is not that I'm not interested in the topic, but that my interest in the topic kind of drives me to a deeper point, and it kind of swerves us off of the point that we should be on. Okay, now, how do I work on these things? How do we handle them? How do we help one another? First of all, have some questions in mind that might interest you that are not, crazy divergent topics. Like, for example, what's the weirdest job you've ever had? Or if you were going to be elite, an all-star in some sport, which sport would you choose? Or, what's your favorite movie? Or what's your favorite TV show? Or something like that. Those kind of conversations. Like, for example, my favorite movies are Pretty Woman, Tin Cup, and Gran Torino. Those are my favorite movies. You say, that's a weird spectrum. Well, we could talk about how they're alike and different at some point. But anyway, I like those movies. I think the best television series ever is Breaking Bad. I think the best first episode of any television series is Newsroom. And I think the best ending to any television series is House. If you've not seen those 3 TV shows, check them out. At least the first episode of Newsroom and the last episode of House. But anyway, okay. So having some conversation topics that are kind of a little bit safer might be helpful. Another thing is be careful to ask more questions than you answer. Instead of just talking on and on, ask questions. Ask questions that are not going to take you into a direction that's going to swerve you off topic. The third thing would be very conscious of time. If you've been talking for a long time, make sure you stop and come to a point to where you can encourage others to participate in the conversation. And the fourth thing I would say about how, what do we do is create places that fit well for you that you can go deeper. Like for me, I have a place to talk. I've got book clubs. I've got this YouTube channel. I've got message boards. These are places that I can have deeper conversations when I want to and when time allows. Okay, so those are the keys and thoughts and the differences between ADHD and autism, and how I'm always tempted to talk about faith and politics and money, things that are considered taboo subjects. They're very fun to me, and the reason they're fun to me is because I like to go a little deeper. I do have genuine interest, and it takes me a little deeper than it should. Okay, so the next thing for our 37 fat loss hacks, the next fat loss hack is, what's it called? The next fat loss hack is stop the endless cardio. Well, I don't do endless cardio anyway, so this one's going to kind of be easier for me. But it says stop the endless cardio and do more weights. Okay, so we started the weights a couple weeks ago. I'm going to stop the endless cardio and do some more weights. That's the next one. I weighed 289 pounds yesterday morning. Yesterday was Wednesday. I'm recording this video a day late. And my sugar was 185. If I'm kind of going by the same time of taking my sugar every week, my sugar was down. So I'm making progress. Things are going the right direction. I was supposed to take my shirt off, and so now I have. This is me this week. My bruise is starting to heal. And maybe there's a little tiny bit of weight loss. I don't know. It's starting. I'm down 5 pounds. And thanks for being a part.